Welcome to Daily Tips that may or may not help you. I'm Ariel Nissenblatt. On this show, we share tips, and those tips may or may not help you. And Ned and I, Ned is my co-host, we share those tips throughout the week, Monday through Friday. And every Wednesday, we have a guest tipper. This month's guest tipper is TK Dutes. We are going to meet TK in just a moment. And today, you may notice, is not a Wednesday. It is a Saturday. Although, of course, as a podcast, you can listen to this whenever you want. That's the beauty of it. But we drop our long-form interviews with our guest tippers on the weekend after the first tip from them drops so that you can learn more about them and what to expect throughout the month. So, TK, welcome to the show. Briefly tell us who you are and how we know each other, and also, briefly who you are so that we can then get into the specifics.
Yeah, let's get into it. Y'all know my name already. I'm a longtime podcast veteran. I would say audio. I've done broadcast. I've done live online streaming. I've done podcasts, and in podcasts, touched every part of the project, and I really love being like that because you know what other people are going through, from hosting to producing to associate producing to executive producing. I'm like, I know the pain points here, and when I'm in this role wearing this hat, let me not act like an ass so that I can support this person wearing this hat because I know how it feels to be them.
Yeah.
Done a lot of shows, and now finally put out my own. It's called The Secret Life of TK Dutes, and it's my journey through burnout in real time. So as we talk, Ariel, I'm still going through it, right?
Yeah.
And the production is changing, and it's an experiment. And I guess we'll talk about it some more.
Yeah.
But me and you know each other from the industry,
the wonderful world of podcasting.
We be on. Let me tell you, I think every year, if we're not on a panel, then we're not doing the year right.
Then it's not a year. A year has not passed.
A year has not passed. I think we made our quota, or at least we saw each other.
Yes.
But we're outside a lot together.
Yes,
that
is very true. That is very true.
Yeah.
And you do a bunch of other creative things that we'll get into, but do you want to just explain for the folks who are watching all of the things on your fingers right now?
Yes. These are my rings. I'm just trying different things. So I'm a visual artist now. Since the pandemic, everybody was trying to find something to do, and this is also part of my healing practice and my reclaiming life after burnout type vibe. So I like making small objects, functional objects, plates, cups, dishes, candle holders. Now I've graduated. I went from earrings to rings, and now pins at some point. You'll see on my Instagram.
Wow.
So I've never met a craft I didn't want to try.
I love that.
Yeah.
I recently crafted at a baby shower, and I hadn't crafted in years. I did Mod Podge.
Yeah.
And what a fun activity.
Yes.
It's just, and crafting in general, it's just such a great thing to be able to sit down and do a task. And that task is creative, but also it's so meditative, and you can listen to podcasts or you can be part of conversations while you're doing it. Is that what drew you to crafting, is the meditative nature of it?
Yeah, and I needed something, when it really took hold of me, was part of this whole burnout time. Things were so hot and heavy that I needed to close the laptop. The laptop was the source of a lot of stuff. So I was like, if I dirty up my hands, then I can't touch anything.
Ooh.
If I can't touch anything, I'll be focused on, because also let's be real, we're all addicted to social media. This internet has got us in a chokehold, and TikTok wasn't even invented yet, a couple years, 5 years ago. So, or it wasn't that hot. So when you got online, you stayed online. Yeah. So my thing was I was trying to not touch those items, touch my phone, touch the laptop. That would put me in touch with the pain. And then also I noticed that it would become meditative,
Yeah.
That was secondary. The first thing was not doing shit.
Literally not touching it.
Yeah.
I love that. If you want to get off the internet, nobody talks about literally on purpose getting dirty so that you can't. I think we don't talk enough. There's so much back and forth discourse on the internet about unplugging, going to touch grass, but nobody talks about the idea that you can literally get messy on purpose so that you don't mess up your computer or your phone. Like, go to a garden and stick your hands in the mud so that you then can't touch your phone.
Yes.
So I think that's really fun. I
Yeah.
love that. So let's get into how you got into the creative world in the first place. When did you start listening to podcasts? And then when did that spur you to want to be part of the creative process?
I think it goes way back. So I'm Haitian American, and Caribbean people have like a big radio culture. It was always on in every elder's house. So like I didn't realize it then, but I was learning programming,
Wow.
right? Because there was a thing that comes on in the morning that my grandfather would respond to. I didn't know what it was. Papa Joe.
Cool.
Papa Joe. Yeah. So like shows would come on, and he was blind. So like a lot of his time was spent like listening to the radio because like, certain stuff he couldn't do around the house. And he was already elderly. So sitting and listening was his jam. So in the morning it would be news. And then I always remember at 7 p.m. that this song, Get Down on It, I believe it's Kool and the Gang. Oh my God, they would play it on that station every 7 p.m.
Wow.
Get down on it. And listen, I know the words. And he would be so like, he would just be like banging his cane on the floor. And I'm like, oh, it's 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock. So I was just learning by watching him and his response, like what gets a person excited, what takes you through a day, what can inform you and carry a conversation, and how to program a show or day, which would also like, narrow down into a show, like what keeps the story going, what keeps you excited. So like, this is from my youth, and then eventually turned to, went to college for communications, concurrently while being like a healthcare professional. Like, it's like a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I love my parents. I told them, if y'all not paying for school, then I'm going to go for whatever I want to go for. And I went for, communications, TV, radio.
Wow.
And from there was doing some broadcasts where I learned more stuff about a show, and then managing different people, because it was a quote unquote, even though I was 25, a youth produced social justice radio show called Rise Up Radio.
What station was it on?
This was WBAI New York.
Cool.
So like a Pacifica station, which is like, Pacifica stations are legendary for being like less leftist stations. So like the corporate equivalent would be a WNYC, right? Like kind of progressive, and we talk about like news and justice and stuff. But this was like, Justin, it's like, we're doing it. So I think that also contributes like to why I am the way I am today. And then eventually started me and my friends started a radio station called Bonfire Radio, where my creative partner, C, and I did it for 6 years, a morning show called TK in the AM.
Cool. Which
ran Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, giving you 3 reasons to wake up, 10 to 11:30 a.m. See, it doesn't leave you.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't leave you. And we had it was live, and we had people in the chat room, and we started sending those to the RSS feed as podcasts.
Nice.
Which then started the podcast journey.
Wow. I know. I love tracing back people's stories as creators, because there's always something from childhood that, even if you didn't realize at the time, is your origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think especially with folks who are more audio oriented, it's in your bones more, I think, because it almost feels passive because you're taking it in, not realizing. And then later you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, that did have a really big impact on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that thing about my grandfather and like all the radio stuff. I didn't realize it for a while, but like I really kind of, once you asked me and kind of like, triggered that memory, I was like, oh yeah, no, this is from before.
That's so cool. That's so cool. It makes me want to put together a blog post from people who are audio professionals about their childhood moment, and maybe not childhood, maybe it's in tweenhood or wherever, but what is that thing that exposed you to, I need to make this, or I need to be part of this in some way bigger than just consumption? Yeah. Okay, you said you were a healthcare professional. What did you do in the healthcare space?
Yeah, I used to be a licensed practical nurse,
Wow.
and my main thing was taking care of children with chronic illnesses in their home because, kids can't live. I mean, kids can live in the hospital, but, most families, you want to take them home and they have to learn how to care give. So, like, you'd have a nurse come to your home. Some
Yeah.
people would have nurses 24/7. So, like, I would, after my shift, I tag in someone else. Some people have them 16 hours. Some people just have 8. Like, it just depends on the situation. And I did that right out of high school.
Wow.
All the way up to 2016.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And I know you from the podcast space, and a lot of people know you from the podcast space, and I'm sure
Yeah.
some people know this as part of your story. I did not know this. Maybe in the back of my mind, but the details, very cool to hear.
Yeah.
And I do want to ask you about when you eventually decided to leave that job and go towards the creative industry. But before we do, since this is a show about tips, do you have
Yeah.
any tips for nurses or for people who are interested in getting into the healthcare space?
Yes. I think because there's a lot. Okay, you know what? There's a lot of different kinds of healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
I think find the one that works for you, and find the community. So for me, what kept me in it so long, even though it wasn't my first love, you can have a thing that you're good at that's not your first love, right? And it just, that's how it rocked out. So how I was able to stay long was I found a situation that I could be in. So for me, hospital was too fast paced, too many changing of hands, too much stuff, right? So my mom, she is also a nurse, or she was also a nurse at that time. And she introduced me to home care, right? And that is a little slower. You have more consistency with the family, and also vice versa. If y'all are not jiving, you call the agency and be like, eh.
Yeah.
And if they're not jiving, they call the agency. But there's also genres of types of care in that. So my mom, she really flourished caring for adults, just giving them a better quality of life. I flourished with children just because there's a wonder,
Yeah.
and there's something that'll keep you there longer.
They're just cute.
Yeah. No matter what kind of kid they are, they're cute. I would, you go with them everywhere they got to go. So you go with them to school and you provide services. I went for a long time with several clients. Sometimes you're there with them. You work during the holidays. And if you're going to work with people during the holidays, it's nice to see like a little kid open their presents or a family, try to give them as much of a normal life as possible. So my tip to caregivers or healthcare professionals is find the thing you love inside the thing, because it's a hard job.
Yeah.
So if you like travel nursing, there's also travel nursing, travel doctors that want to be in a different location. There's so much.
Yeah.
There's so much. So find that thing, and that'll keep you in there as long as possible.
And it might take people some time to figure out what that thing is that they love, but I think it's the permission to say, not everything is for me, and that's okay. I think the bit that you mentioned about the hospital really, I think, is a great example, because it definitely is fast paced and there's probably a lot of pressure. But and some people might like the pressure of nothing is the same day to day. You are constantly moving around. So if you don't like to sit or you don't like to be in one place, that's probably great for you. But if you need to be able to move around, you can choose a discipline within that allows you to move around. And of course, this applies to more than just nursing, more than just the healthcare industry, but all sorts of jobs. I actually at one point thought that I might want to get into the healthcare space, specifically working in hospitals, because I'm somebody who it needs to be different every day or else I am bored.
Yeah. And it's good for that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So then 2016 comes around. You've been hosting this radio show. What makes you decide I am done nursing?
Little by little, I could see the writing on the wall for me. My passion was less and less, it was moving towards audio. It was always moving towards audio. I just didn't have a way out.
Yeah.
And little by little, I kind of soft quit. It took years. So I was full time. And then instead of 5 days, I was 4 days. Instead of 4 days, I was 3 days. And in the other days, I would fill it in with gig work, recording some random show for a person that said, "Oh, I heard you have a microphone and a computer." I said, "Yeah," and then I would go get one. So I would fill little by little, and then when I was down to 2 days, and I just felt like, and like, let me be real, Ariel. Someone I think said something to me that I did not like, and I was like, "Why am I here?"
You were like, "It's a hell no."
It's a hell no. And I didn't realize the hell no mantra yet, but I was like, what kind of also triggered me was like, it was a birthday season. So it was like.
When's your birthday, by the way? I feel like Tippendales should know.
I'm a Taurus, April 29th. That is TK Day.
Okay, sweet. This is obviously dropping in February, but Tippendales
Yes.
will remember your birthday.
Thank you, Tippendales. I'm starting, actually, this is my peak promo time. I start doing PR for TK Day.
Oh my God.
Right around now. So this is perfect.
That's
now,
awesome.
Like for real, Ariel.
That's awesome. And actually, that's one of our tips is celebrate anniversaries that are not necessarily birthdays or related to romance. And this obviously is a birthday, but I love building an entire festival around it and a promo season. But anyway, you were saying that somebody said something to you.
Yeah. A downside of caring in the home as a professional of any type, it could be from nanny to whatever. Once you're in someone's home, there's a familiarity that folks start to have with you that they kind of start to lose their end of the professionalism, right? Because I have a license to uphold, so I'm not going to be saying certain things to you. I'm not going to, I'm going to always be doing my job, but they would lose their,
veneer.
And sometimes a little attitude would come out, or a little like, "Ooh, we didn't have to."
Yeah. You didn't have to go
That's
there.
Unfortunate. And somebody went there, and I was like, I actually have a choice. And 2 weeks later, I was like, okay, I told the agency, and that's the great thing about working through another company, is like, you don't have to. I gave my 2 weeks, and I wasn't mad. I just said, it's my time, and I realized it was my time. I said, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for that. That's awesome.
There was the catalyst.
Wow.
Here we are.
Wow. Okay. I love that. Do you have any tips for upholding professional licenses, i.e., breathing and not reacting in anger when somebody says something to upset you or just piss you off?
Well, usually I'm just shocked in the moment, so I'm already like, oh, so the shock already shut my mouth, right? And I think keeping it shut is part of the way to like hold your license.
Yes.
Hold your license, keep your job in any job. Like, you know what? That's fine. I received that. I heard what you said. Then for me, right, I'm trying to understand the other person. I'm like, what's the note under the note? Like, yeah, they ain't come at me right, but what are they trying to say? Then I make sure in my head, I'm like, was I wrong? Like, did I do something? And this can be, you have to be careful because you start to go down a drain, right? You don't want to ruminate. You don't want to overthink. Like, if you knew you took all the steps, you did the thing right, you have the receipts.
Yeah.
Then you're like, well, you know what? Actually, yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. This is not my fault. They just have gotten over familiar, and I have to realize that, like, we're not friends. This is a job, and now do I want to stay here? Do I want to go?
Yeah.
So, always remain professional, and then make your decision later when you go home, when you're out of the situation. Because when you're in a life, this is a life and death thing, whether or not the person is right now. Like, hospitals are like day by day life and death. Chronic illness is every day is just a very long day for that patient. So like whatever that client's, patient's mother, father, grandma said to me, it's not about me and them. It's about me and the client. It's never the patient. Yeah. So I would just refocus back on my patient. Like, okay, let's do medicine.
This is who I'm here for.
Let's do food. This is yeah. Let's finish out these 12 hours together.
Yes. And I love the idea of the idea of quote unquote license to uphold as a euphemism almost for keeping calm in any profession. And I feel like that would be a good anger management tactic. Anger, but also feelings, keeping your feelings in check in general is, I work at an office. I have a license to uphold as an employee of this company, and I want to stay an employee of this company for now until I decide that it's not for me. So I'm going to uphold this license as a human, as a member of this office.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even have to, you be like, like you don't take anybody's shit, but also like there are trade-offs, and like sometimes the person will realize that the energy in the air has shifted. The body language has shifted because like I said, it's not about me and you, it's about me and the patient. So, and now we're not laughing as much.
Yes.
I'm over here right now.
Yes. Let's do a hard pivot. I want to talk about jewelry. I want to talk about making things. And you mentioned earlier in the episode that you've gotten into crafting. You showed us your rings. So let's talk a little bit more about the process of, first you were in healthcare, you were in people's homes. During that time, we're also making radio. Eventually, radio became podcasting. Podcasting became your full-time thing, whether it was gigging or I think you've also had some full-time jobs in this space, if I'm not mistaken. And now you also are somebody who crafts. So I'm curious about that journey. I'm also curious about some practical tips that you might have for folks who want to get into selling their crafts, but also just like sourcing crafts and figuring out what craft is right for you.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. My brain is going all kinds of places. I think first thing I would say is just try something. Don't think too hard about it or else you will get sucked into, because a lot of folks, like I consider myself to be neurodivergent, and also going on the journey of finding out what to do is part of the excitement, but then sometimes I'll never do the thing. So I've been pushing myself to push past the journey and do the thing. So try something. Collage. Like literally I was on Patreon. I have a Patreon crafty hour with folks.
So cool.
And it's like I'm doing collages because you could do it with trash. Like like you don't need anything. Scissor, glue, scraps. Right? So like just try something easy like that, and then to see where it takes you. Because like sometimes like a color will be like the thing that like you're like, wow, I want to like, okay, now that I'm matching pieces of paper, maybe I want to play with fabric. Maybe I want to use only green in this next iteration of craft. Like literally just do it. Any craft. Go to a workshop. Go to your friend's house. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that is what gets the thing going. And then next thing you know, you become like me. You collect every hobby ever. So I make plates. I make jewelry. I make crafts. I make collages. You know what I'm saying? Like now there's no limit. And I love that. And I refuse to niche down. And I think it's it kind of like shows you a little bit more of who you are, because I didn't realize I was just always a person that refused to niche down. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do the third.
Me too.
Let's party.
I think that's a tip in and of itself. Is sure, niching is right for some people. It's a lot of the advice that you'll get if you go on the internet and say, I want to start a podcast on this, or I want to start a blog on this, or I want to do a YouTube channel on this. A lot of places will say you need to figure out your niche. And I do think that's important. But if you know that you are neurodivergent, and if you know that it is important to you to be trying different things because it keeps your brain active and creative, then you can own that as long as you're transparent with the community that you serve. And I think, I mean, I love that you named that, because I think a lot of people might need that permission to say, yeah, sure, best practice is one way, but my best practice is a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. And I think it goes, because you were asking about selling crafts, and I've had to figure out my way of doing it, because also people will, like if you show it, people will respond, people will enjoy the work that you do. But you have to decide, is this craft for wellness? Like my girlfriend always said, like when I'm starting a new craft and I show it on the internet and people are like, oh, I want to buy that, I can get into a place where buying a craft is validation, and then next thing you know, I'm what's the word, I'm now like doing it because I see like an interest in it instead of doing it for me. So I have to decide first. I would say decide whether the craft is for crafting and for wellness. Like you don't want to give yourself extra stress by saying, I'm going to sell it. Right.
Yeah.
But if you do sell it, right, figure out what's the best way for you to do it. So my middle, my middle ground is I might have 5 of these and maybe I'll put it on my website or maybe I'll put it on Instagram stories and you see it and I say, I have 5 of these for sale. Do you want it? That's it, right? Like, I don't want to put any more pressure. I don't want to owe anyone. I don't have an Etsy store. I don't do like, it's just what it is. Um, I've learned about vending and I'm learning about what people want. And sometimes I don't make what people want, you know? So I got to be cool with that. But if I am vending, so I vended once and then like now, like in real life with people, um, now I'm realizing, okay, cool. Like my stuff is too slow. Like when I make my stuff, it takes a long time to make one thing. So like there's no way that I would make it out in a situation where everyone has like mass producible items. So I just like I'm reading the room. So like now I have some things, some small things, keychains, things that's at every price point. So if you're gonna go out and vend, yeah, you have your high price items, but people are really looking to spend 10, 20, maybe $30 if you're lucky out in the world. So you have to have something that is still you, but like, I don't want to say affordable, but affordable, right? So if I'm going to spend 20 hours on a cup, I'm not going to sell it to you for $30.
Right.
You know? So I have other smaller things now.
I love that so much. And I also think that creators need different outlets in order to just keep their brains working.
Yeah.
And one of our tips recently on Daily Tips was about how not every hobby needs to be monetized. Some can be.
Yeah.
But I love that you give yourself permission to say, some of these crafts are for me and I know they're not going to sell, and that's okay. And yes, I can vend and I can bend to the demands of the people that might want to buy. And I'll do that to an extent, but I'm also just going to make things sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
That's awesome. So TK, I love the tips that you're sharing here. And throughout the rest of the month, you're going to share amazing tips for us, for freelancers, for creatives. And there's something that you and I talked about before we even started recording that we weren't really sure where to put into this. And I said, why don't we go a little bit more in depth when we have our interview? So what is this one tip that really brings it all home and also just, I think, helps everybody beyond creatives and freelancers?
Definitely. That one for me is don't be afraid to get what you need elsewhere. And that can mean a lot of things. So take it how you receive it. But for me, in this journey of reclaiming my life after burnout and trying different things and trying to come up with different solutions on how to live, for me, if you don't want to go to another, if you don't like your school, leave it. If you don't like your loved one, leave them. If you don't like your job, leave them. And also, if you don't like the care that you receive from your healthcare providers, your mental wellness practitioners, leave. And even if that means leaving America, and I'm a big champion of medical tourism. I've been going to Mexico. I'm in Mexico right now as we have this conversation. Been going to Mexico and doing my dental care there. Here, and also that gave me the confidence to try other kind of healthcare. So I'm also my yearly women's wellness checkups. I get here. I find that
How's your Spanish?
Medium. I'm a better listener than speaker. And if you give me 30 seconds extra, I'll be right on time. Look.
Amazing.
So
that's great.
I'm just telling folks, like, be open to getting what you need. And America, it's where we're from. It's, there's a lot of things here that are happening politically and also like go systemically that go into medical care as a Black woman that I just don't jive with. from how I'm being spoken to in the office, from how conclusions are being jumped to or decisions are being forced down my throat, or like, like I'm not being considered a person. I'm like a body, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes I look back and sure, the doctor was right, but I ain't like how you got there. Like one day we had a conversation. I met the doctor for the first time. And they were like, well, we could book you in on the 15th for this surgery. And I'm like, I don't know you.
Yes.
Fam.
And also give me a little bit more context. Why do I need that surgery? Can you be nice to me as you're telling me that I need surgery? Because that's kind of scary.
Take me out to dinner. We just met. Like, so I've just been coming here and, yes, and affordability is a big part of it. I don't have insurance in America. Big part of it. And so like it's a little bit of everything. And I know that my American passport affords me some privilege that nobody wants to be the guy that like mistreated an American patient.
Right.
So like, let's be real, because I think a lot of people also aren't being real with themselves and realizing that we American passport holders have an extreme amount of privilege. But I want to tell people, don't be afraid to get what you need elsewhere, including medical care and other wellness things. I know a friend that got women's wellness care in India.
Wow.
A lot of people are going to Turkey. I don't know about that stuff, but I know that like if you do your research just like you should be doing in America, you shouldn't just go to no random ass doctor. You should be doing your research on everybody that you meet, no matter where they come from, who they are. And I think one thing that is put into us is fear. And I think American doctors, if you tell them like, oh, well, I'm about to go to my dentist in Mexico. Oh, suddenly it's like, are they licensed? I'm like, well, you are. Like,
yeah.
They
Why
have
would they
to
not
go
be?
a place, right? And so like, there's a lot of like fear mongering out there.
Yeah.
But also like with that, be prepared for when you come home. Who are you gonna see? Right? What's your follow-up? What's your backup? Like I've had like, sometimes the thing doesn't work out and you have to fly and you didn't realize that it takes a day for you to realize that the filling was going to fall out.
Yeah.
Okay, where am I going to go get another filling in America? You know what I'm saying? Like, so have that backup, have that other level of care. So don't be afraid to get what you need elsewhere. And I mean, in every sort of way.
And that's really the beauty of daily tips that may or may not help you. We crowdsource tips from people around the world. All of the tips that Ned, my co-host, and I give are from things that we've learned, yes, but it's also aspirational things that we've seen around the internet or that we glean from other people throughout our lives. And TK, you were an amazing guest. You shared examples of tips that may or may not help the Tippendales. And Tippendales, we would love to know which ones resonated with you. You can leave a comment wherever it is that you are listening to or watching this. Of course, on the video platforms, you can leave a comment just on social media and on YouTube. And for the podcast, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a rating or a review. And if you're on Spotify, you can comment on this episode. We read everything. We respond to as much as we possibly can. Sometimes we might miss you, but we love hearing from you. And of course, you can submit tips of your own by going to dailytipspodcast.com. TK will be back throughout the month to share tips, and we hope you tune in for TK's tips. And with that, TK, would you like to just impart us with a word of wisdom to take with us as we go?
If it doesn't feel good in your body, don't do it. If it doesn't feel good if the energy is off, don't do it. Really tap into yourself. I'm learning how to every day. I'm super glad to be on this journey of if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. That's it.
Perfect, beautiful, tying a bow together as we wrap up this episode. TK, thank you again for being on Daily Tips that may or may not help you, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much.